When an old person dies, a library burns. That is the African proverb. And in it lies a whole philosophy, a warning, and a call to action. In many African communities, knowledge was not written. It was spoken. It lived in people. It flowed through conversations, stories, songs, proverbs, and rituals. Elders were the vessels. They held the history of the land, the origins of clans, the laws of the people, the rhythms of nature, and the ways to live in harmony with all things. They remembered. They remembered the stars, the plants, the seasons. They remembered when the rains would come and what to do when they didn't. They remembered who married who wronged who, and how peace was restored. They remembered the taboos and the values, not as rules in a book, but as lived truth. An elder would sit under the tree, and the village would come. Young ones would gather at their feet, wide-eyed, listening to tales of how the world came to be. Not fairy tales, but deep codes of how to live, how to survive, how to be human. When they spoke, they didn't just tell stories. They passed down a worldview. A sense of identity. A way of being in the world that had weathered time, war, colonization, famine, and still stood tall. But what happens when we stop listening? Today, many elders sit alone. Their stories untold. Their knowledge unrecorded. Their eyes still hold wisdom, but no one asks. We've traded time for speed. Stories for screens. Elders for algorithms. And with each burial, something sacred disappears. A memory. A remedy. A philosophy. And so, the libraries burn. One by one. Unnoticed. Unarchived. Unhonored. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can return to the fire. We can sit and ask, tell me again, how did we survive the drought? What did grandfather teach about justice? What did the ancestors say about leadership? We can record. We can write. We can preserve. We can teach. Because the wisdom is still there, if for now. So let's not wait until silence is all we have. Because when an old person dies, the library burns. But when we listen, when we learn, when we pass it on, we rebuild the library brick by brick, story by story. And in doing so, we remember who we are.